Okie dokie.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to our Premiere Pro.
Happy Wednesday.
Is
it Wednesday?
It is.
Wednesday.
I know. Today we're on a different day than usual, but we're just as excited to be here. So thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you being with us today. Just gonna give another second for other people to join.
Yes. And then we'll get right into it. I hope you're excited. We've got a jam-packed session of tips and tricks.
Right? And I can't believe it's November already. It's already episode number 7. So who could have thought the time can go that fast? So
can't believe it.
Yeah. Do we want to start? How's everyone feeling?
Let's give it another 30 seconds.
All right.
We love sitting in silence. You guys can just hear us talk. Aisha and I said in our last masterclass, we need to get some startup music going,
right?
Get the vibes going.
One of these days we'll do a live Premiere Pro where we'll open actual mics for our clients. So that would be maybe a great idea. Again, we'll be sending out maybe some follow-up questions to see how you enjoyed this year's Premiere Pro. So stay tuned for those emails, but yeah, definitely. Music in the beginning will be amazing.
All right, so it's 4:01, so just to respect everybody's time, and we've got a lot to cover today. So we will just go ahead and get started. So hello, everybody, formally. Thank you for joining us today. It's episode 7. Our theme and our topic today is tips and tricks. So for those who don't know me, I'm Emma Huff. I'm the client experience team lead here at Premiere. And today I'm joined by Natalia.
Hi, everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the manager of client success here at Premiere. I'm excited to be part of this particular presentation because it's dear and close to my heart. Just this past June, I had the pleasure of presenting the same topic at our Synergy conference, and back by popular demand, we're here to present it for the entire organization so you can share it with the other team members, because again, there is quite significant change in even the items that we're going to present. So if you happen to be at our conference, don't worry, this is not going to be the repeat of that session. There will be some similarities, but we're also going to be presenting some of the new features that have been released in the last few months.
Perfect.
So without further ado, we're going to jump into our agenda, and our agenda is jam-packed. So when Emma said you're going to be, we have a lot to cover today. As you can see, there are quite a few different items, but all of them can be summarized in a really specific manner. The purpose of this tips and tricks session is to give you back time, because again, by using the software, sometimes you do an extra work that you don't have to. So we'll show you some of the tips how you can shorten those processes, as well as how to add value by utilizing the software. So I'm excited for that.
Shall we just get into it then, Natalia?
I think so.
Perfect. So one of the larger items, and I guess I would call it the elephant in the room, that Premiere has developed is the new UI, or the new look of Premiere. And so while some of the changes may be obvious, such as color schemes and things like that, other items may not be so obvious. So we just want to quickly highlight some of the changes that have been made there. So looking at the main menu on the left-hand side of the screen, working top to bottom, we have the processing menu, we have our favorites menu, then we go into the reports, and then we have our settings. So that's where your setup and everything is going to happen within that last little gear icon. So we quickly wanted to show you how to add favorites to your favorites menu, because this is something that not a lot of clients know that you can do. And so there's 2 ways to add favorites. Number 1, you can simply open a screen within Premiere, right click on that screen and select add to favorites. You will then have the option to, rename it and tag it, whatever you need. But the other way to add favorites would be to go to the favorites menu, select this little star in the right-hand corner. And from here, you actually have the option to add a web page or emails. So if you're frequently accessing websites such as your bank accounts or your payroll provider like ADP, and those are things that you frequent when you're in Premiere, you can absolutely add those favorites to your favorites menu to be able to quickly access or send those emails to people outside of Premiere. So that was just a great feature that we wanted to mention there.
I love that feature. I always used to email my bank coordinator or, get on the bank website to get exchange rates, whatever it may be. So definitely amazing feature.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So moving into the top right-hand corner icons, we've got the save button, the refresh screen, and then the refresh drop-downs. And we also then have our notifications. So the notifications is a new button that we've added with the new UI. And this is important that you're staying on top of these notifications because we will keep you updated on any major enhancements that are coming out or any updates that we want everybody to be aware of that we're excited about. So just something to keep in the back of your mind when you log into Premiere.
And it does turn red and it has a notification icon as soon as we add something. So again, if you log in the morning, you see something there that catches your eye, please read those because they're usually really important.
Perfect. Moving into the question mark. So this is a great area to essentially self-help. So if you are in Premiere and wondering how to do a specific step within the system, or you're looking at a new feature and you're not quite sure how it works, our knowledge base is a great area to go for articles or help videos to kind of, direct yourself in the right way. Next is the ability to open or review your support cases. So instead of directly emailing your account manager or using your email system, this allows you to actually log into Zendesk, so through Premiere, and you are able to actually set the priority level. So this is something that we use when we are looking at prioritizing tickets, and this will help us identify, how quickly you actually need a response from us. So those are some great things to know within that little question mark icon.
Yeah, and if you missed any of the previous Premiere Pro series and you're curious to find out what we've discussed in the past, again, go to Knowledge Base. We do have a segment and specific area for our masterclasses and Premiere Pro. Use that. It's the amazing tool. Again, even to onboard your new staff as well, because there's so much, it's jam-packed with information.
Last but not least, we have these pretty little initials in the right-hand corner. So not only do they look pretty, but they also provide some value to a quick access feature to your My Preferences screen. So we're actually just going to go right into tip number 2 and talk about some user preferences that are important. So we use the email address and the mobile phone number to be able to verify the identification of users when they are resetting passwords, as well as using the security codes for e-signatures and anything to do with approval workflows. So this is somewhere that they can come to confirm that information is correct. Users also have the ability to choose what they want their date format to look like. So I might like to see it month, day, year. Natalia might like to see it day, month, year. Some people might like to see it year, month, day, whatever your preference is. We definitely have that option here, and that will only impact your Premiere system. It won't impact other users within the system. And for those of you who are using our approval workflows, will love this one if you're not already aware of it. So you'll notice that when Natalia and I first opened Premiere, we had this little approval inbox open, and that is what this little ticky box will do. So essentially, when you log into Premiere, it'll open up that approval inbox and give you a good understanding of what is ball in your court and what items need your attention. So it also provides great drill down capabilities into the appropriate approval screens to allow you to quickly action those items.
Love that.
Last but not least, within the user preferences is our delegate approvals. And so this is great with the holidays coming up. For all of our US clients, you would have just had Thanksgiving. And so this is a great tool to use, especially at this time of year and in the summer when there's lots of vacations happening. So we have the option to do delegate approvals for AP invoices and purchase orders. And our newest addition to the workflows is timesheets. So we are diligently working on getting, delegate approvals throughout Premiere, and timesheets was a big one that is new to us, and so we're really excited about that ability.
And who doesn't like to be away and get their work done as well? So yes, that's a perfect combination of
yep. The business can continue on while you're drinking margaritas on a beach.
Exactly.
And it's important to note too that delegate approvers have the ability to set an end date. And so this will automatically lapse that person's ability to approve any items on your behalf. It doesn't have to actually be deleted. So you can come in here and update it for the next time you're on vacation.
Love it.
So with that, we are going to move into our next tip and trick, which is some navigation tips within the system.
There's just so many
tips and tricks.
tips and tricks. Yeah. Well, tip number 3 is navigation. And again, all of you guys are using Premiere, and there are different ways how you're using it. Some of you are running reports, some of them using processing screens. So I wanted to split that up slightly and just showcase 2 different ways why it's important and how do you navigate in the software. So one of the important components of reports that we quite often hear as a feedback, well, I would like to see this report specifically is too summarized. I really want to have a breakdown. So, and I'm picking on job cost progress report, not for any reason, but just because it's a good representation of the example that I wanted to share with you. For example, I just had a call with a client who was looking for their data based on the cost item, but they also wanted to see very detailed breakdown by cost item and type. So not to worry, you don't have to go to any other reports. All you have to do is click on the drop down, and then you will be able to select from a variety of other options that we have. So again, if you wanted to see a quite substantial level of detail where you also not seeing just the phase of the project, but also is it for material, is it for labor, is it for subcontract, progress by cost item and type is a wonderful option to select. You might notice other options as well. So again, you can be adventurous. You can open it in different ways, different variations, and see whichever one makes the most sense to you. Another way, again, as we always say, using quick search. So we do have search for menus, but whenever you're in any of the screens, you can also search for the specific maybe project name if you wanted to, and select that. Alternatively, again, if you know actual job number, you can. So whatever makes sense to you, you can absolutely do that. In addition to that, as we scroll down and see the bottom of the screen, I'm happy to say, again, some of you requested changes and maybe didn't need to see the details to the level that we provide when it comes to decimal points, because reports get really busy. So we've added an option to show or not show decimals. By default, it is a selection that is predefined, but you can always uncheck it, and then that will not include actual decimal points. And in a lot of reports, you will see advanced parameters. It allows you to see data in the more meaningful way. For example, if you're looking for all jobs, but you wanted to have a specific job start from and to date, you absolutely can do so by using this advanced parameters. And just because I wanted to show you how amazing this new feature of show decimals, what the difference it makes on the report side, you can absolutely see how much more space and visually appealing the report becomes if you're not worried about the sense on the report. Another side of, again, when we talk about navigation in Premiere is related to processing screens. In Premiere, again, you will be using processing either for accounts receivables, payables, potentially even within the purchase order screen. And most of the time, again, you are looking at a significant amount of data. In order to utilize real estate, there is a quick tip that you're seeing. If you're trying to follow along and you're thinking, how's Natalia's screen fills up the full entire screen? Why is there no top search bar? Again, F10, which is allowing you to see the full screen, allows you to do that. So by simply clicking F10 on your on your keyboard, you will be able to increase the size of the real estate of the software. For that reason, we also not displaying the actual left-hand sidebar, because now it allows your screen to fill up the most space. Going from top to bottom, we also have multiple what we call grids. The upper grid allows you to see information that is showing what we call header records, the upper records, which is a summary of details. So for example, for project 63, if I wanted to see all of the invoices issued, I can do so without necessarily going into the details. But as soon as I'm ready to see the details of particular transaction, I can change the number of rows that is displayed on the top, and then my bottom grid will extend significantly. That's a great feature. I love that because, again, it allows me flexibility of seeing screen without having extra scrolling. And unlike other softwares or even, some of the other functionalities that I've seen in the past, while you cannot add extra columns, you absolutely can make them fit your needs better. So for example, I'm not really concerned about receive date of my invoices. So I will move it all the way to the other side so it doesn't fill in all of my entire screen. I can also zoom in and zoom out, but again, a lot of you are probably really familiar with that just for the Chrome functionalities. So again, be able to bring in all of the information that I want to see in a concise way. Remember that you can do absolutely all kind of filtering, and yes, filtering even allowed option to do and or combinations. So depending what you're looking for, you can select one or the other. And another thing that I wanted to bring up specifically to posted AP invoices screen, sometimes we get a phone call and saying, oh my God, I know I've posted this AP invoice, but I cannot find it on screen. So I just wanted to mention that under the status, whenever the filter is selected, it is highlighted in blue. And by default, posted AP invoices actually hide all of the void transactions. So again, it's done by on purpose. And if you do want to see those transactions, you can actually change it either not equal to again, is equal to, do the opposite and find all of the transactions that could have been potentially voided in the past. Or you can just simply clear it to see all of the information. And you will see that my filtering now will be disabled.
That's a common question.
Right?
Where's that voided invoice?
Where did it go? So on another note, again, when it comes to utilizing software and utilizing processing screens, it's very important to note a couple of amazing tabs in the bottom grid. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with compliances, recurrence, and payment type, but a couple of things get maybe not as commonly used. So, for example, Notes tab is a wonderful way of utilizing notes to share with your team member. So a few months back, we've had a request, and I love to bring this up because, again, I love showcasing items that came from our clients. Someone pointed out that it would be nice to have the number of notes count, and we've added that. So now if there is a note, you will quickly be able to see that there is a note. And why would you use notes? So, for example, in a posted AP invoices screen, I know this invoice came in, but I wasn't expecting really to see that. I did enter a note that this was replacement for a defective part, just in case if someone is wondering, or a month from now, I'm going to go and see, like, I wasn't expecting that. I do see very similar invoice for same amount. Maybe I'm just waiting for the credit on that other invoice, but this is just a new invoice for the replacement. Now, if I wanted to share this information with Emma, and whenever she's doing and checking those invoices, because I know she's going to have the same question, why there are two invoices for very similar amount, I can set an alert to save her time. And once I save it, what will happen is next time Emma goes in and checks on that particular invoice, when she clicks on it, system will actually display that message for her immediately. And not only that, when she goes back to the Notes tab, she will also know that, hey, Natalia created it on November the 20th. So if she has any follow-up questions, she can always come to me and ask that question. So it's an amazing way of communicating extra information to your team members. But don't believe everything you read. Sometimes you also want to see information, and the Documents tab is one of the very important components within the Premier. Why are documents important? Well, tip number 5, we'll talk about all about documents, but for now, I'm just going to quickly highlight this tab on its own. So why we have documents for each individual transactions is to keep information succinct. If I'm looking for a specific information on AP invoice, I can add all of the backup documentation in one place. And then if I wanted to, I can always go back to it and open it up. So again, there is a way how you can simply drag and drop information from within this particular area. You can upload if you choose to do so, if you want to upload it from an existing file folder. You can also do the other way around. You can download information out of the Documents tab and into a file folder if you choose to do so. Opening a document serves the same purpose as if you clicked on the actual document name. So that would be really helpful. You can replace documents because in some instances, maybe you want to keep the original because maybe you've asked to update some information. You send it back to vendor, you got the new copy, but you want to have copies of both, you can absolutely replace that. And delete button, I know a lot of you are looking at it and wondering, oh my God, people can't delete it. Don't worry, it is a role security specific button. So again, ability to delete will only appear if you have access to that within the role security. View details will take you to the Document Explorer screen that we will talk about in just a few seconds. But a couple of really cool features as well that I personally use a lot when I need to communicate information. I can email actual attachment as a link. Some of you may ask, why would I do that? Well, sometimes you have really large files that cannot be accepted via email, so email will bounce. So if you email it as a link, a person will be able to still access that information, but it's not going to be blocked. You can share files, and we're going to talk a little bit about, again, creating external information, external files and sharing it there, or you can even zip. Alternative sending information as a link, you can zip the files as well. So this just one tab is packed with actionable items that can save you time. And with that, I think I'm going to move on to our next tip, which is document management. And that's tip number 4. So what is document management? A lot of people are thinking, well, I'm using OneDrive. Why would I transition to Premiere? So did you know that document management within Premiere has unlimited storage and actually already included in your package? So you never have to worry about, oh my God, I have this large file. Do I really want to upload it, or do I keep it local? And then only if I need to, I will save it. It's included, and it's, again, unlimited. In addition to that, when we set you up in Premiere, and if you're following along, if you're trying to click on things, you should be able to see folders, and there will be accounting and PM folder. Those folders already come as predefined folders, and they have subfolders that allow us to store data and tag it immediately. So you don't have to do that. Imagine if you're trying to save a document in the filing cabinet. First, you need to create a file, then you need to find the letter, you need to have some sort of filing structure. We take care of all of that, and it's all saved in a really specific manner where it makes sense. Accounting is accounting, project management is project management, but we also give you freedom of security, because we understand that maybe you want to have only some people have access to those folders. So on top of having unlimited storage, you also have freedom of determining who will have access to those particular files. On top of that, we don't limit you to just what we believe is right. If you need to create additional folders, you absolutely can do so. And there is a new folder button at the bottom of the screen. So for example, I always recommend, if you have in your HR documentation, maybe you have onboarding documents, especially for the new hires that you want them to use, create a folder and save those documents under onboarding. And you can allow everyone to see that, because everyone can benefit from that critical information. But if you keep in track of your resumes and maybe you don't necessarily want everyone to see that, you absolutely can do so. And then you can add security as to who will be able to see this HR folder. On top of that, again, just a quick note for those of you who are using our amazing Cortex drawing management system. It allows you to save documents for drawings, and you can even use external folders to share it with maybe your third-party consultants or whoever it may be. And for our favorite accountants, because of my accounting background, I also have amazing external accountant file folder for my working papers for 2023 year end. And again, I can add security, and not only can I say what type of documents will be going there, but more importantly, who will have access externally and internally as well. So those are really great features. And with the year end coming up, I think that's a great opportunity to take advantage of those folders.
Hint, hint. Stay tuned for our next Premiere Pro series.
Exactly. You will learn a little bit more about that. And again, what about just a lot of setup? I know usually that part gets boring, so let's see it in action. So again, what is the purpose of document management. So again, going back to the documents tab that you've seen in the processing screens, or even if you go to jobs or vendors or customers, you are able to see information specifically allocated to either a job or a customer or a vendor. But on top of that, if you wanted to go and see all of the documents that have been maybe uploaded this month or this week, you can do so by going to Documents Explorer. In addition to that, if you want to then be very specific, you can then filter it based on the job. But I like to take my AP invoices and look at my AP invoices. So as I'm selecting all of the folders on the left-hand side, up on the top, system creates breadcrumbs. So I know exactly which folder I'm in so that I can easily follow, okay, I am in the AP invoices. And if I choose to do so afterwards to maybe give it a more of the, you know, more refined search, I can do that by job. So now, instead of me going to a filing cabinet and pulling all of that information, I'm able to access all of my AP invoices for the specific job right here, right from just comfort of my chair. And on top of that, I think this is one of my favorite features when you deal with larger projects and you have a lot of information. Don't forget about advanced searches. You can even look for the specific transactions or specific documents that have been entered between specific dates. So I think that's a really, really powerful feature as well. And I have seen our clients, when I show it to them, the eyes light up and they're like, oh my God, I've been doing it, sorting it out and trying to do it for a long time. But on top of that, I'm happy to share that during our conference, people were asking, well, can I actually download documents right from the Document Explorer? You absolutely can. You can select files and you can select to download them now. So again, another powerful feature that was brought up to our team, and we were able to deliver it fairly fast. So excited about that as well.
That's awesome. For those of you who want your opinions heard, come to our conference next year.
Exactly. I think that's a great point. Yeah. Stay tuned for the details. We're still finalizing that information, so can't wait to share that with you as well. Next thing that we want to talk about, and maybe switch gears a little bit, is talking about quick adds, because we talked about how we want to give you back time. So there are different ways how you can save time when you're creating somewhat repetitive tasks. But one of the items that also close to my heart is, what if you're defining role security? And role security is important because it allows you as administrators of the company define what role each individual has. So you usually would not be creating a role per user. You will group people together, so you don't have to repeat certain tasks over and over again. So if you happen to have a junior accountant, but now you also have a junior PM, all you have to do is click on add from, not just add, but add from. And then you can create a copy of the project manager, because they will be in charge of all of the similar tasks as a project manager, but with slight variation. So if I do junior PM, right, and all I need to do is I already have all of the access copied over, so all of the access rights the same, but maybe as a junior PM, they are not allowed to edit AP invoices if they approve them. All I have to do is just take that one check mark off, save it, and just like that, I have a whole new role created. So that saved me a lot of time on creating those processes. Next thing that I like to showcase as well, new AP invoices. Bills come all the time, but in certain scenarios, bills are repetitive in nature. So we can address those with using recurring entries. So maybe it's the same bill that comes every month. That's perfectly fine. You can set it up as a recurring entry. But in some instances, it's slightly different. For example, my company rents equipment from Stevenson Rentals, and the rental varies depending on the number of hours that we use their machinery. So I can use add from feature. It allows me to select a template from Stevenson Rental because it's for the same job site. It's the same equipment that's going to be recorded. It's just the dollar value that will change. And just like that, with 2 clicks, my invoice information came in. All I have to do is add an invoice number. I can change the dates if required. Since it's the same project, I don't even need to change allocation, but if I choose to do so, I absolutely can do that. And then if there is any changes to the dollar value, I absolutely can do that as well, because this particular week it was slightly different. So again, that's very, very quick way of adding a lot of information. And some of you might ask, so how did you get that template to appear there? That's quite simple. The first time you've entered that AP invoice, in the main tab, on the main tab, just below purchase category, you just have to click template. And that's how it will be selected and appearing in the add from. Isn't that a great saving component, time saving component? And
I love that. AP
right?
is always a pain.
Exactly.
I like that. Always a pain, AP.
Necessary evil. That's how I call it. But again, if we can save you time there, that's great. But I don't want to forget about our amazing project managers. So a simple way how you can also save time from the project management standpoint is by accessing our jobs. And I'm sure a lot of you already familiar with that, but maybe again, it's just more of a refresher for some of you who are new to the system. And the purpose there is we talk a lot about creating, and I'm so sorry, I just need to either make a decision if I want to save my changes or not. So give me 2 seconds. So again, on the job screen, you will also see add from, and add from allows you to similar how we talked about AP invoices, to add from an existing template. Right. So if you have a job, you can absolutely select from a template of that particular job. And that will allow you, again, just copy all of the information that you wanted to. In addition to that, again, you have ability to select if you want to also copy original estimate or not. So that's the beauty of it. You probably, again, if you're doing similar type of jobs, templates is absolutely the way to go. You can, again, as I've mentioned, you can even have a job name set up as a template, and I've seen variations how people do that, but it's always good to have that. And you can, again, you can check mark it as a template, similar how you've done it with AP invoices. Right here, there is an option to have set it up as a template. So when you do use add from feature, you are able to select just from templates only, so you don't have the huge list of the templates to select. And again, if you don't want to copy cost items or department allocations, you can, again, select that right at the time when you're doing add from. Since we're talking about jobs, I think it's only fair to also talk about another important feature is copying estimates. And for that, I always like to tell a story of one of the clients that, again, we worked with. They got, they were able to win a bid to actually do multiple chain restaurants. And so they're going to be very, very similar in nature. So they've uploaded all of the jobs, but they were still finalizing the estimates component of that. And so once they've created the first job and they've loaded original estimate for one of the jobs, now they have multiple other restaurants to upload it for. Instead of doing upload, what they've done is they've went into copy estimate feature. And then here you are able to see all of the jobs that do not have any estimates created at this point of time. And just like that, they went in and then they could copy the estimates to the jobs that they needed to. You can click copy and all of the information will be copied over. And I think that's a great feature, again, when you have similar estimates and you don't need to upload them. It's just very a nice way of accomplishing could be tedious task. So that's, again, that's all that I wanted to share when it comes to quick add tip. But believe me, look out for those add from, because you will find it for other software in different areas as well. On that note, we're going to move to tip number 6, which is talking about custom fields. who doesn't like customization, right, Emma? While Premier, I think in my experience, we've pretty much covered a lot of bases when it comes to utilizing the software and covering all of the important things that you need to keep an eye on. The other important component is being able to track maybe very meaningful things that are important for your company. And for that, you can create custom fields, and you can create them in different areas for customers, daily logs, employees, and jobs. For purpose of today's presentation, I'm going to select job custom fields. Job custom fields allow you to track information that is very specific to your company, and it will translate to either if you select or data reports or forms. So it depends what the purpose of that field is. I'm going to pick on this particular square footage. So you can set it up as a text if you wanted to have it just whatever you want it to be filled, but that would not be a gold standard. If you wanted to follow gold standard, you would set it up a square footage as a number. And then what you can do is then for land developers that are on the call today, you can actually then use custom field number 4 in my example to pull in the OData report and then do all kind of calculation, because based on the square footage of either the lot or specific development that you're working on, you can calculate your even WIP entries if you choose to do so. So it's a really powerful tool of how you can utilize that. But in addition to that is also we allow to create dropdowns. And in situation of a dropdown is if you want to have very specific answers given to the type of information you're looking for, you definitely don't want to have just a text field, because you can get all kind of gibberish. So if you want to set up dropdowns, again, we have a specific dropdown option. And so if, for example, if you wanted to pick maybe CRM status field, and you wanted to have a very specific options, you can create those options, and only those options will be available for selection. So it's again, if I wanted to show that to you, again, if I go to my job screen, which actually I had already open, but again, remember that we have a custom field tab. And if you go to custom fields, for example, on this job, just to make it easier, and I'm sorry, my internet absolutely sucks today. I don't know what's going on. But we're experiencing some bad weather in Ontario, so hopefully it's not a sign of the upcoming winter. So again, if you see on the custom field tab, if you wanted to select from the list, this is my drop-down list, and you can see, you can keep track of those particular jobs while they're, for example, in the bid status. How does that sound for a nice tip and trick?
I love that. And it's a great way to customize kind of, the software. It's not really a customizable software, but it does allow you to track some of those other items that might not necessarily be an option within the boxes within Premier. And so I love that tip. I think that's great.
Exactly. And since we're talking about, again, a little bit of a customization of the software, I think that's a nice segue into tip number 7 of approval workflows. So approval workflows have always been with Premier for as long as I remember, but we've always adding things to what you can do in them. And there are a couple of changes that have recently been added to the purchase orders. I would love to showcase those for you guys today if you haven't seen our master classes or our notes on that. So within the purchase order approval workflow, we actually have a few 2 changes that can absolutely change how you process your purchase order approvals. One is we added a created by option. So whenever I have maybe a junior PM that is creating purchase orders, and Marco is my junior PM who, whenever he buys anything for the other cost type, I really want to have a good understanding, and it should go to project manager, especially if it's over $5,000. So I can easily create my approval workflow just based on that. But to make our lives even more easier, if you look at the bottom of the approval workflow screen, you will see email PO to the vendors and CC the distribution list upon last approval. So what that does is, if you have POs that go in for approval, in this particular situation, Marco had purchased something that was over $5,000, it went to the project manager said, yeah, go ahead, approve that particular PO. No one needs to go now and send it off to the vendor. The system will automatically create an invoice. I want to say invoice, not an invoice, email to say to the vendor so that they can fulfill the order. I think that's a great way to, again, saving you time and adding value to your day-to-day processes. Well, I don't want to stop there. Another thing that I want to talk about is AP invoices workflow, and AP invoice workflow also had some amazing changes, and I think Emma will be probably hears more about that, is the fact that we do have invoice source. So invoice source covers regardless where invoice got generated. But if you using our amazing SAP PayUp application, so and I hope you all do, if you have subcontractors, because why do the work, let them do the work. So whenever the invoices are being submitted by your subcontractors, if you want to have a specific approval process designed for that, you can absolutely do so. And why I'm saying it's really dear to Emma's heart, because of the expense app. If you have invoices that came up through the expense app, you can also create an approval flow just based on that.
Awesome. So speaking of AP, we want to make this the most efficient process as possible, since this tends to be a high volume task within your day-to-day. And so doing payment runs is one of those last steps within your AP process. So today we just want to highlight a couple key features that we have available within this screen that will make your lives much easier. So the first one will be the payment method. And so the payment method of vendor default, what this does is it essentially allows you to create multiple pay runs within the same pay run. So where you have subcontractors or vendors that are receiving payment via check, direct deposit, or ACH, whatever the case is, you have that ability to run multiple payment runs at once. So when you click this pay button to determine which invoices you want to pay, the payment method will populate within that column. And when you decide to pay those invoices, the related screens will actually open up. So if you have some checks to be printed and direct deposits that need to be paid and processed, then you'll have those two separate screens that get opened up. So there's no need to do two separate payment runs with that specific payment type. And then you don't have to remember, oh, which way does my vendor prefer to be paid, right? Does he like to get a check, or does he like to get it just right into his bank account? So that's a great tip that we love to use. The next one is actually a hidden gem. Underneath the more actions, there's actually an option to select all invoices. So if you stay on top of your payment runs weekly, or maybe in the middle of the week, whatever the case is, and you know that all of your invoices are approved and ready to be paid, then you can utilize this little select all button, and that will easily, once again, like you'll see, select all the invoices. And since we have it set to that vendor default, we know that we're going to have some checks and some manual checks that we'll have to process. Similar to that, under the more actions, we have a deselect all. So if you do it by accident, you can deselect some, and that'll just make it easier to clean up your payment runs. Last but not least, as Natalia said, the expense app is very near and dear to my heart. So we do recommend utilizing our filters within the different columns within the screens of Premier. And for the payment run, we love to use the invoice number for those reimbursement expenses. So with our expense app, we have the ability to process credit cards, so corporate credit card expenses, as well as reimbursements. So those reimbursements and the expenses are prefixed with EXP. And so when you filter for EXP, this will very easily allow you to run a payment run. And look at that, I'm going to get a whole bunch of money this week. So we're going to do a payment run to pay me back for all of the expenses that I've put out of pocket. So just utilizing those filters is really handy.
Yeah, I love that. Just like that, with 2 clicks, I was able to pick all of the expenses for Emma, and I've selected to pay all of them. So again, saved me a lot of time instead of going and selecting by vendor or whatever it may be. I think that's a great functionality.
And that's a great point, Natalia. So the system is smart enough. If you use a filter, so if we were to filter for EXP and then use the select all button, the system is smart enough to only know to, select those invoices that are within that filter. So you don't have to worry about accidental invoices getting included in there.
Yeah. So as you can see, it only selected the expenses that are Emma is now going to be reimbursed for.
Perfect. So now that we've talked about AP, let's talk about making money, right? We all like to make money.
If I spend it, I'd rather make it as well.
So we recently made a change to the way that our cost plus templates calculate our fees. And so this can be carried forward to PCOs and the change orders screens within Premier to help automate those fee calculations. And so what you can do is set up a cost plus template specific for your job and for your fee structure, and essentially automate the way that those fees are coming into your PCOs and your COs. So no longer are those PMs having to remember what the markup is, or what fee should be on top of the fee and doing these manual calculations. We've got your back. So this is a great feature that we just released a couple months ago, and we've heard great feedback for. So a couple of things we just want to highlight here is the fee type. So you have the ability to select a fee type as percent or fixed. If you select a fixed amount, that amount will simply just be added to your PCO or your CO. If you do a percent, it's a calculation based on your schedule values, and the percent that's complete essentially. We then have the option to select which areas you want those fees to be calculated on. So it's important to note that if you're going to utilize this feature simply for the automation of the fees, you only have to have this additions to contract column selected, because you can set your billing on your job to all. So if you're going to do progress billing, you can absolutely do progress billing for the billing side of it, and then have the automation for your fees come through this template. Next is our included fees section, and so this column essentially allows you to compound your fees. So this insurance fee will be calculated on top of my cost plus my management fee. So we have the ability to automate that calculation for you, and you can actually use the move up and move down buttons within the cost plus template screen to determine, the hierarchy of those fees and which one should be calculated on which.
I love that. That's such a new customized way, and compounding fees are important for a lot of our clients. So I'm happy to present that to you guys as well.
Why not find a way to make more money, right? Bake in those fees. So last but not least, we also have the ability to depict and tell the system which cost types and cost items we actually want those fees to be calculated on. Look at me, I'm drawing all over the screen now. So that's a great feature where, let's say, for example, you have, you want to have a little bit of a 1 or 2% fee on those subcontracted at work, because you're not self-performing or whatever the case is. You absolutely have that flexibility to set up fees for those specific items. So let's show them how it works.
Right?
Let's just show them the aha moment of all of it coming together. So within the proposed change order screen, as long as you have the setup done correctly, which I've written a great article on the setup for this, so you can utilize our knowledge base for that. But as long as the setup is done correctly, essentially when you come into your PCO screen, your fees tab will automatically get calculated, and you have an ability to override those fees on a PCO or a CO level. So we have a PCO here for some unexpected plumbing work that we have. We are going to subcontract out this work, and you'll see that we have a new little fees tab here. And so I promise you, I didn't come in here and hit add, for these fees to match my cost plus templates. Those came in automatically. And so when users are entering the costs, when they save this PCO or approve the PCO, those fees will automatically get calculated. And look at that, it's already compounded our insurance fee on top of our management fee. And because we have the ability to override on a PCO or a CO level, so let's say we wanted to give a little bit of a discount on this PCO for this client, for this, to 7%, you absolutely have the ability to do so. And then you can just utilize this little calculate fees button, and this fee will change from $500 to the $350 that it should be. And so this is a great feature to, standardize those fees, make sure that those aren't being missed, and that you're actually collecting all of the revenue that's earned to you. So now that we've talked about standardizing data at Premier, let's move into our final tip of the session.
Oh my God, that's already tip number 10. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So the first one is compliances. So I think this is an important part of any software. As a client, I know it's important to keep compliances because, again, some of the project may not actually be doable without collecting those compliances. And so we're trying to think about it from perspective of what will make the most sense for you guys. When you go to compliances tab, you will be able to see 3 different options to choose from: vendor specific, subcontract specific, or sub pay app specific. So when I think about it and I try to explain it to the clients, when would you pick which one? The good rule of thumb is think about how often do you need to collect those compliances. If it's a one compliance that you need to get only once, maybe it's W-9s, or maybe it's a, some sort of other documentation that you need only once in order to set them up, uses a vendor specific compliance. If it's something that you will be using on each specific subcontract, maybe it's insurance certificate, then add it to the subcontract specific. And if you happen to have any compliances that you actually want to collect at every single time the sub pay app is being submitted, maybe it's even just a proof of work or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be an actual compliance. It's any documentation that you need to gather from your subcontractor at the time when the sub pay app is being submitted. You can absolutely use sub pay app specific compliances. I'm going to pick on the subcontractor specific compliances, and I want to again kind of go into the why behind the compliances. So not only are you keeping track of them and they are being added to your documents folder as well, which is important because if you ever need to bring them up, you will have an actual copy of it. You can make them required, and that's an important field. But on top of that, you also can associate items and actions for that particular item. So we do have multiple things. So for example, if it's a compliance that is not very specific, you can absolutely ignore it. Maybe it's a compliance that's outdated and you don't care about that. Absolutely change type to ignore. If you keep in track of that compliance, but it's just more of a reminder to yourself that you should get it at some point of time, put it as a warning. If it's a compliance that you absolutely do not want to proceed with, set it as an error. So for example, if you want to stop any kind of data entry coming through, set it to error. And if you do need to enter AP invoices, which is, I think that's a fair statement. So if you do want AP invoices to come through for that compliance, put it on hold. The AP invoice will be created, but you will never be able to pay it until that hold is actually taken off. Why? And again, it's always why behind the compliances. We want to put you in charge of your financials, and that's our main goal. And by utilizing compliances and putting actually items on hold or setting up to error, especially if you, let's say, getting your sub pay app submit their invoices, what is an example of that I would love to give is, imagine if they haven't submitted their insurance certificate and now you're about to pay them, but what if someone got hurt on the job site? Now it lays with you to actually potentially eat up the cost for whatever that's covering that insurance claim, as well as potentially going, there could be a delay at the job site and whatever it may be. We don't want that to happen. We want you to be in control of that. Instead of losing money, you will follow the compliances, you will put it as hold or error, and then your subs are actually now mandated to submit those compliances. So you protecting yourself and protecting your business from having those tough financial situations by not having right compliances created.
I love that. So I think it's important to reiterate that we always do recommend to our clients to use that hold functionality, because as Natalia had mentioned, it puts you back in control of being able to have those invoices in the system and actually updating your job costs, but they're not going to get paid till you get that compliance, right? So you're benefiting from this just as much as, the company is. So,
yeah.
Moving on here, we're almost done. We're almost running out of time here, so we're going to speed up. But we just wanted to mention here, for those of you that are utilizing our enter time and expense option with the mobile app, we do have the option within the employee screen to restrict what cost types and cost items the employees are able to code to. And the reason behind that is because you know, when people come off of other systems, we see a lot of hesitation for, you know, employees to enter their own time or even enter their own expenses, which is, of course, near and dear to my heart. And so we have the same restrictions available there. But really, it will limit the amount of errors that you will have coming through, and it will make that approval process for the managers of the timesheets much more efficient, because they're not, you know, fixing things where it's being coded to somewhere where it shouldn't have been. And so just utilizing those standard allocations and what those roles are allowed to have access to is super helpful.
I absolutely love that, and I see a lot of benefit once we show that. Again, even for the guys in field, they didn't have to scroll through the huge list of things that they can select from. If I'm only doing masonry, I might as well just do masonry. Okay. And last but not least for today, I know this is a again, it's not a goodbye, but under, again, similar to employees restrictions, on the same level as when we talk about restriction from cost items and cost types and GLs, there's also restrictions on the job level. So again, this is something that we're really happy to share. Under security tab, you are now able to define who has access, and by default everyone has access, but you can now define, is it going to be based on a specific role, or is it based on a specific user? So again, the reason why would you want to actually secure jobs and restrict access to the jobs is, again, if you think about some of the confidential data, if you're charging your labor to the jobs and maybe you do not want people to calculate the profitability or, you know, potential pay rates, you can absolutely set those restrictions. So only people that are should be privy to that will have access to those particular jobs. Again, it's also a feature within the role security. So so not everyone can just come in and give everyone access, whoever chooses to do so. No, it's also an additional security level on that. So on that note, I know it was a lot. We've covered a lot today. I'm glad that we've done that. But having said that, just taking it back to our agenda. So we've gone through all of the 10 tips and tricks, and now we're going to open for a few minutes on for any questions that you might have.
Perfect. So our first question, we've got a couple that have come in, so type away quick if you haven't got your questions in yet. But the first question is, so for some reason, external ID does not copy to a new job when using a template. Interesting. So that sounds like it might be a bug, unless it's intentional.
I think maybe we'll take it offline. We'll keep it a note of that. And is there a name associated with that who we can contact? Okay, perfect. So we'll take it offline. We'll do some testing and we'll get back to you now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
If you, Irvin, if you have a specific instance of that, if you just want to submit us a help ticket for that, that would be super helpful. And then we can do some testing on our end and escalate that if necessary. So thank you for letting us know. The next question is it possible to opt to not see as many decimal places in the original estimate screen?
Not currently, no. And the reason for that is, again, we actually just had another call with another client. It's really important for people who are using different units of measures. They're doing the calculations, they're doing markups and so on. So it's actually very important in order to calculate proper dollar values.
Awesome. Yep, that's good. The next question, if you add a pay app 1 invoice and set it as a template, when you add change orders, will they come in as well when you use that template for later pay applications?
So
that's a good question. I want to say no, because the template is strictly for the AP distribution and information, but let us do some testing on our end, unless you know of something that I don't know about.
Read the question one more time, sorry, just because
so they want to know. They want to know if they have a pay app and if they set it as a template. Yeah. When you add change orders, like AP invoices, so when you add a change order related to that invoice, will it come in as the template as well?
So sub pay up again, if I'm following, because sub pay up is something that your subcontractors would be filling out, right? And they do have all of the lines already on the website, right? So if it's an invoice that they've submitted, so they would be able to see the lines, but no, they would have to enter the dollar amounts because it varies, right? It could be as a progress, it could be dollar amounts. So again, the whole purpose of sub pay up is not for you not to use it as a template. You put not ownership on the subcontractors. So maybe we can discuss a little bit more of a process. Why would you be using sub pay up as a template in NAP invoices? Are you doing it, you know, because you're helping your subs to submit those sub pay ups? I think maybe I need a little bit more information, because the purpose of sub pay up is so that you don't have to do anything, right? So it could that's where maybe my misunderstanding is coming from.
Okay, perfect. Next is good morning. I assume this is an Australian. We have an Aussie on the call. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. We find Premiere Pro series so helpful. Oh, that's so great. We're so happy to hear. When we create a subcontract variation, see, if you hadn't said good morning, I would have known you were Australian just from the variation component. So for those in the Northern America, we call those subcontract change orders. So they're saying when we create a subcontract variation and extra days are entered, where can I find the revised end date of the contract? So that one is, so the extra days is, as far as I know, informational only. So that is just a form field to let people know that there were extra days that were needed to tack onto the contract. You absolutely can then go in and update the end date of the contract. But I do believe that you can pull that form field into your forms as well. So if that's helpful for you to add the subcontract extra days onto your variation forms, that's something that we can do as well.
All right. Do we have lots more questions? I do apologize. It's end of the, we want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Yes, absolutely.
What we can do is, again, if there's any other questions, and we don't have any more, that's great. But if you happen to submit anything last minute, we'll get back to you afterwards, and we can even post something within our Premiere Pro series, just some of the quick questions. But I appreciate you all joining. Thank you so much. This will be shared back with you, I guess, if you missed part of this. And we also can see the same presentation on our knowledge base or within our knowledge base article. So,
awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks for our last episode of the year. And we'll talk to you then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.